Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. Hartley, good afternoon. I just got word from you off camera about 5 seconds ago that you just got your iPhone and some AirPods Pro 3. Finally, it only took you a few weeks. Now, you did say that you didn't get a chance to really do anything on your iPhone. Is that also the same for your AirPods Pro 3?
Pretty much. I've been wearing them for maybe an hour.
What do you think? Just like initial first thoughts. We don't have to dive too deep.
The fit is different. It definitely feels different. And I would also say that transparency feels worse, but I don't know why. Like,
it's different, but it's not
noise cancellation is way better. But I'm far more aware of artificial amplification with the transparency on this, and I don't really know why. But I think I quite like the new fit. It seemed like the medium-sized tips straight out of the box were correct for me. And the different fit, I think I quite like it. It takes some getting used to, this kind of extra sticking out that everyone else is sort of getting used to.
I've noticed that that's kind of a thing. People have asked me, like, do these stick out more than normal? I think these are the 2s that I'm wearing right now, because they were literally the closest pair of AirPods that were near me that I just picked up. But they do stick out a little more. The 3s do. So it's interesting. I can tell just visually looking at you that your AirPods are sticking out. It's the end of a short era here with no more wires for you.
I may well go back to the wires. I was so determined today to give these a fair try. I think the sticking out design makes sense, especially considering that you touch that stem, so it means that you have a little bit more space to do that. And I imagine that accounts for different face shapes a little bit better. And as far as the iPhone 17 Pro is concerned, I definitely think I chose the right color combination, and I'm pretty happy with this clear case. I think it's the only color that the clear case actually looks good on, because you pretty much can't tell that it's got that horrendous white square on it. Only looks bad if you have it on one of the other color options. But other than that, I actually think it does look a little bit better. But it is a bit of a unit. It's a very chunky device.
It is. We already shamed it last week. We won't do it too much. I switched Airs. Did we talk about that? The colors?
I think you mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah, the black was just, it looks good, but it gets too gross after a while. All right, well, I'm glad that you got it. Maybe we'll check back in a couple weeks and get more of your thoughts after you've had some more time. You said you've had it for an hour. Did you at least listen to music for the AirPods? Did sound quality notice an improvement there?
I definitely hear that heavier bass that Apple has sort of adjusted the sound profile toward with this device. And I think that they sound excellent. I definitely do notice improvements over my AirPods Pro 2. The noise cancellation is fantastic. The fit seems good, certainly for me. But I'm not sure about this transparency. I'm using it right now so that I feel a little bit more like this is a normal conversation. I never like talking with active noise cancellation on. But I'm very aware, even now, as I'm speaking, that it sounds like I'm talking through a microphone to myself.
See, I got the opposite feeling. I felt like it was more natural for me, but it just sounded like my voice sounded more natural. You know, that's everybody's ears are different. Everybody's thoughts are different. So I respect your opinion, even though I feel like you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No. So at least you are with me on the bass. It's definitely heavier, right? There is some more low end for sure when you listen to music.
Which I think it needs, because ultimately the drivers in this thing are very small. That means that the bass can start to feel quite hollowed out. You get that on a lot of earbuds. I mean, that's always been the issue when you have such a tiny speaker. It's not to say that you can't have quite a crisp, clean sound. Apple's very good at that. But sometimes the bass can be a little bit lacking. And I think Apple has also been cautious to not muddy things up too much and make it just sound like Beats headphones, which are always well known for being very bass heavy.
I think that's changed a little bit over the years, but yeah, they are still predominantly more bass heavy than like Apple's, which I always associated as more of like a neutral sound profile for the most part. This one definitely breaks away and goes a little bit more towards the low end. But yeah, I mean, I still really like them. I just used them on a couple of flights this past week. The noise cancellation is so much better that it really is. I mean, like I do like some over ears for long flights because I can wear those a little bit longer. But for these shorter, like 1 hour, hour and a half flights, AirPods are perfect for it. So that's really all you need. Hey guys, just want to take a quick minute to let you know this episode of the MacRumors Show is sponsored by Claude. You know, one of the best parts of my workflow lately has been experimenting with Claude. I've been using it to plan out projects, research across multiple sources, and even think through problems in ways I wouldn't have on my own. It's not spitting out answers, it's actually helping me organize my thoughts and get to solutions faster. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at just good enough. It's the collaborator that actually wants to understand your workflow and thinks with you, not for you. Whether I'm sketching out a video script or working through a complex production timeline, it feels like I've got a partner who's always on the same page. One thing that's been a huge time saver is Claude's ability to connect with my tools, so I can pull in stuff from Google Workspace, Notion, my calendar, and it even gives me the context I need all in one place, so there's no more jumping between apps or different tabs. And honestly, the research capability is just next level. I mean, I'll ask it to break down something technical, and it not only finds this info, but connects the dots across dozens of sources that I never thought I would check. It's like having a second brain for the work that matters most. Claude's artifacts also lets you build interactive tools and apps by describing what you need, like custom calculators for clients, data visualization dashboards, and prototypes, and so much more. So if you're ready to tackle the bigger problems, sign up for Claude today and get 50% off of Claude Pro when you use my link, claude.ai/Mac. That's claude.ai/Mac right now for 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. That includes access to all of the features that we mentioned in today's episode. That's claude.ai/MAC. Thanks, Claude, for sponsoring this episode. But that is not today's main topic. Today's main topic is that our favorite Russian YouTubers have done it again. They got a hold of brand new, what was it? Last year was the M4 MacBook Pro. This year, they got a hold of the M5 iPad Pro. And I feel like it's only a matter of time until they have the M5 MacBook Pro, right? At this point?
Probably. It's pretty surprising that this has happened again, and that whatever that loophole was, Apple didn't manage to close that last year, and we're back in the exact same situation. So we have benchmarks for a new M series chip floating around, and Apple hasn't even acknowledged its existence yet. Yeah,
I feel like they probably won't. There's actually been a couple of leaks, one by our own FCC. But we'll get into that in a minute. But let's go with the M5 iPad Pro. This leak kind of makes me sad, not because it leaked entirely, but because it's really just confirming that it is just a chip upgrade and there's really nothing else, unless I'm missing something. But it kind of seems like that's all that it is.
Essentially, yes. And I think what we have to bear in mind with the iPad in particular is we're spoiled with the iPhone. The iPhone is such a high volume product and is so integral to Apple's product profit margins. And it's also the main Apple device that people own. So people may have, a Windows laptop. They may use earbuds from other manufacturers. They might use other kinds of fitness trackers. But the iPhone is by far the most popular Apple product and drives a lot of sales. So Apple is willing to devote a large number of resources to that device. The iPad is a pretty sidelined product, and it's a pretty mature product as well. Those iPads that sell in volume don't tend to be the high-end version of the iPad. And the iPad has moved slowly more upmarket. Particularly with the most recent generation, the M4 models, which now, I mean, you can easily spec that up to be spending over $2,000 on that if you include the Apple Pencil, you include a keyboard, maybe you increase the amount of storage as well. Very easily, you can spend a considerable amount of money on that device. These now have OLED displays, nano texture options. It's a very high-end device. The fact is that just doesn't sell. in large numbers. I would be very interested to know how many units of the M4 iPad Pro does an Apple store sell in a day. My bet is not very many, and certainly not as many as they sell iPad Airs or entry-level iPads. So with that in mind, it's just not in Apple's, I wouldn't say not in Apple's interests, but it's not at the forefront of the company's mind to update this device substantially regularly. And they don't really need to, especially at this stage. I mean, I don't know if you remember the iPad Pro that was before the M4 version. That was floating around for like 18 or 19 months without an update. Then we got the M4 version last year. And while that has been out for a while, I mean, it's a pretty mature product. And what Apple seems to do when it unveils a new version of the iPad that is fairly substantially redesigned, that design sticks around. I mean, consider the 2018 iPad Pro. They updated the chip and a few other aspects of that device, but it was essentially unchanged at a broad level all the way through to last year. That is a long time. The same goes with the iPad Air. The fourth generation iPad Air came out in 2020. That is effectively indistinguishable from the M3 version that was released last year, if only with the difference being the chip, which, yes, Apple has updated from the A14 on that 2020 version through to the M3 on the latest version. So it isn't surprising that all there is just the chip this year.
I know. It's just still a bummer because, like, I'm going to cover it and it's not going to do anything because, you know, who's watching? I mean, there's going to be people that are going to be interested in upgrading that don't have an M4 iPad Pro. So, but it's just at this point, I can already tell you what it's going to be. Do not get the M5 if there's a cheaper M4 available. Just go for that because there's really not much of a, you know, what's the point? You're not going to notice that improvement.
That the Apple Watch to a lesser extent, but in particular the Mac and the iPad are converging around this idea that Apple will debut quite radically new hardware every maybe 5 years, 4 years, and will on a yearly basis update the chip. I mean, really, the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air are the best examples of this, but to a lesser extent, basically all of the Apple Silicon Macs. I mean, that 2020 MacBook Pro, that design is still going strong. And that is what we are expecting to see an M5 in. So we've seen an M1 version of that device, an M2, an M3, an M4, and now we're going to see an M5. And I know there are some other little tweaks and changes, like now you can get a nano texture display option, but essentially it is the same device in every other way. It's got the same keyboard, it's got the same fans, the same ports, it's got the same camera, the same display, the same color options. I mean, I know we got space black a few years ago, but basically it still comes in a dark color option and a light color option. Because I think what Apple's just trying to do is they know they've got this advanced silicon, and it wants to make sure that if you walk into an Apple store today, you can walk out with the best available silicon that they have in that product. But in terms of it's just not something for annual upgrades. I would argue they actually don't even need to do it quite as often as they do. I think we're reaching the point now where Apple Silicon could probably drop down to an 18-month cycle, certainly for the iPad and to a lesser extent for the Mac. And I don't think there would be many complaints. I think really you only need it in those really high-end products. But say we've got the M5 MacBook Air coming early next year. People ask me at the moment, should I buy an M4 MacBook Air? Quite a few people have asked me that lately, in fact. And I feel a bit on the fence answering that question. Do I say no because the M5 version's about to come out? Or do I say actually, yes, go for it because the M5 is not going to really be any different to the M4? And increasingly, that's the side of the fence I'm coming down on. With the Mac and the iPad, just buy what's available today if you want it, because there's really not any other difference. And even then, like M4 to M5, it's a negligible difference. I mean, what were these benchmarks? 12% better multi-core?
Yeah. 36%
That's not going to change your life. I mean, it's good. I'm sure that helps, particularly in intense workflows. The average person is not going to care.
I agree. Doesn't even look like anything's really like the artwork hasn't even changed on the box. That's how little this is just opening up old units and putting in new ones and then closing up the box basically. I'm also expecting this to not be, obviously there's not going to be an event. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a video that comes out with it, but I am fairly confident that this is press release territory in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, mid-October.
Well, they're definitely coming very soon. I mean,
yes,
there couldn't really be any clearer signs than YouTubers getting their hands on these devices through suspect means. So they're in boxes, they're in warehouses, they're ready to go. And the FCC has leaked them as well. So
I got a little not inside information, but I might have overheard that there's some things happening in mid-October. So we're looking at, about 2 weeks from this time. I don't know if they'll do, the MacBook Pros probably have to be ready too. So they'll probably just do all that in the same week is my guess. The things where it gets a little tricky.
M5.
Right. It's going to be the same. The thing that gets a little tricky here is the new studio displays, because you would want to ideally, if those are coming this year, you would want to put those in with the MacBook, right, at the same time, or a Mac launch in general. And they don't have to, but it just makes more sense. So if it's like a week of press release type deals, then that could be one of the days. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But before I do get your thoughts, I do want to quickly mention, I did Google how many units the M4 iPad Pros make up. And this isn't very current, but it says in June, and this is also the AI overview, but it says in June quarter of 2024, Apple sold 12 million iPad units. The M4 iPad Pro share was 43% of all iPad sales. So take that for what it's worth. That's kind of a higher number, but that was also like, when was the iPad out? That beginning of that year?
Yeah. So it was like May.
So it's a month in, so it's pretty fresh. So I'm guessing that has dropped significantly over time. So anyways, what do you think about the studio display getting its launch date? Is it actually coming this year? Or?
Well, that was not included in the FCC listings. So my bet is that if there were so many devices leaked there, and the studio display is missing, that we're not getting that. And I would also say that these other devices are not really that different from their predecessors. The studio display should be. It should be a far bigger upgrade. So the studio display now has been around since, I believe, is it early 2022? With the Mac Studio. And I imagine that the next version will be substantially better. I imagine it will have a new camera. It will have more up-to-date Apple Silicon. Maybe we'll get something like an A15 in there. And I imagine, ideally, a mini LED panel, maybe with ProMotion as well. All in all, that is a substantial upgrade over the current model. And I imagine that Apple will want to make a little bit more fanfare about that. We haven't seen a new version of this device since its introduction. And that is enough for it to talk about, particularly mini LED and ProMotion in an external monitor. That has not been offered like this, really, with any other product on the market in quite this way, and just a plug and play fashion that's highly integrated with Apple's own products, and would offer a seamless experience if you move across the MacBook Pro to the studio display, which is actually what I do. So I can imagine that coming early next year with a new Mac Studio, with new MacBook Airs, things that Apple would want to talk about a little bit more. I think this October is let's just push this other stuff out there.
It's just all the M5 stuff, right? So then we'll have iPad Pro, MacBook Pro, Vision Pro.
It looks like that is highly likely, given that the FCC have leaked that device. I imagine
what is the FCC doing these days? Why are they taking over our job?
I honestly don't know, but I am grateful to them because they've given us something to talk about today. There is some confusion over whether it will be an M5 or an M4 chip, because of course the Vision Pro currently has the M2. But I think probably if this is coming out with a wave of M5 devices, it probably will have M5.
That would be
Especially
really
given
weird, right?
some of the other news that I'm sure we're going to discuss about the state of the Vision product line. It's got to have M5. Surely it's got to have M5.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of jump right. I mean, if there's anything else you want to touch on, the moral of the main part of this whole thing is that expect a new M5 iPad Pro and MacBook Pro fairly soon. The leaks are rampant, but there's really not a lot of other information. I mean, the chip we said gives a 12% faster multi-core, 36% faster GPU performance. I'm guessing that'll be pretty similar in the MacBook Pro, but otherwise, like, I'm not expecting any other changes. Are you?
I don't believe so. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there were one or two little software features in there, but I imagine this will be exactly the same as something like the last year's iPad Air, MacBook Air, where all we had to say was there was a new chip, and it's better, and that'll be faster, and that's it.
That'll be the same this year. And the Vision Pro, if it gets M5 or M4, that'll also be the same case. Although there were reports a while ago about a better fitting head strap. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
I think that if there is going to be one of these devices that offers more changes, it will be the Vision Pro. Apple has had a lot of time to iterate on that device and has had a lot of feedback. I think that it would be a real missed opportunity if that device did not debut with a refreshed headband. At the very least. And there's also the question of, if it does have silicon that is 3 generations newer, does that unlock new capabilities? And if so, what are they?
What are they? Right, exactly. That I agree. But it's all going to be like a software related, software and hardware performance coming together kind of thing. I don't think there's going to be any major changes to the actual device itself, though, correct? Aside from the internal components?
Yeah, there will be virtually no external differences. That's why a headband is possible, because that just clips on. But in terms of the device itself, part of the reason this device exists is because Apple ordered too many Vision Pro parts and couldn't sell enough of them, and realized that they needed to do something with all of these parts that were stuck in warehouses. So they thought, well, we'll put a new chip in it and keep just shipping these components. What's happened to the Vision product lineup is kind of bleak. And this latest news from yesterday, I thought was pretty shocking. I mean, I'd say it's not surprising, but it is a little bit shocking.
I was just going to ask if you think this moves the needle, though. Like, they made too much, so now we're fixing some things and making it a new version. But who already that has one isn't going to no one's going to upgrade from their other one to this? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think there are some people who are really passionate about the Vision Pro. I mean, we've both talked to people like that. We have had emails and comments from people who love the Vision Pro and do actually use it for work. Those people will probably be excited by it and probably would even upgrade, especially if they were day one customers. Mm-hmm. But the number of people doing that has got to be tiny.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't know that this really moves the needle. Hopefully Apple can clear out its inventory and then start focusing on the real stuff that matters, which is what you alluded to earlier. But it looks like we're a little ways out. The big news is really that Meta released its smart glasses. And now Apple has apparently countered with basically stopping work on its cheaper, lighter version of it, the Vision Air, as we were calling it. And who knows if Apple was actually going to call it that. But and is now just strictly moving into countering the glasses perspective, which I feel like is the right move. But why were they not already doing this? It's not like this was, news in the, I don't know. If you want to provide any more insight into that, by all means.
Well, we've had a lot of reports about the state of Vision Pro successors over the last year. So we've heard reports about these components piling up in warehouses. We've heard reports about how the true second generation Vision Pro that would have included design changes, new displays, things like that, were indefinitely postponed. Everyone working on it was taken off it and moved to Vision Air. Work has been going ahead on Vision Air. We feel like we knew quite a lot more about that by now. And now it looks like that is also suspended. So if you discount this Vision Pro 1.5 that's coming out next month, it's not even a true second generation, or rather later this month. That is the end of Vision.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the end of the product line, which is wild. And I understand why Apple has done it, because I think that they were probably there was a lot wrong with the launch of Vision Pro in the first place. And I don't think that it has quite fully, the realization has quite fully hit people in the Apple community yet, that if this is true, Vision Pro, Vision Air is done. And yes, there may well be a new version in 2028 or 2029. But does the Vision Pro M5 version stay on tables in Apple stores until then? What happens to this product line? It is already feeling a bit weird that it's getting such a minor upgrade this year. And it feels like, if all of this is true, that the device is now entering a complete no man's land. And, you know, we've had a lot of discussions where we've speculated about, but how popular really is it? How useful is it? And we've had, like I say, those responses of people that really love it. And we've agreed that the technology is incredible.
Right.
And Apple says that they are very committed to it. You know, we've had Vision OS 26. There are still some great improvements in there. There is more immersive content coming out. But as a community, we don't really focus very much on Vision Pro because it just isn't that popular. They are not flying off shelves. And now this news really does not sound good for that product. And if I was a fan of that product, I would be incredibly worried. Way more worried than I would have been at any time before.
Yeah, I agree. And it sucks because Vision Pro is a really good product. It's not a good product for everyone, but it is mind-blowing. And there are still a lot of people out there who need to experience it, just because I think it is pretty fascinating, like the level of technology and what you can do. But in order for it to be something that everyone experiences, it needs to be something that is less obtrusive and just not something that shuts you out from society whenever you want to use it. It is a solo product through and through. Whereas, you know, the new Meta glasses, obviously, I can see your eyes and you can still interact with people and still be present in the moment, per se, and still be able to do normal day-to-day life, but then also get information in those glasses that you need. And that'll evolve over time. Maybe there's a way to be able to watch content on it. And then when you need to turn it off, you can turn it, you know, like stuff that where you can combine kind of the best of both worlds. And Apple has the one world that's doing it. It looks really good. And you got all the technology and stuff there. Now you need to figure out what your competitors are doing much better at right now, because they're already there with, you know, Ray-Ban. Although I will say I've seen some mixed reports. I tried to buy some, by the way. I was in New York City, and there was a couple of stores. There was only like 2 or 3 stores in the entire city that had them in. I didn't obviously get enough luck there to get some, but I saw them. I wanted to try them on so bad, but there were just in the middle of the table, and everybody like were touching it, and I just got kind of grossed out, so I didn't do it. But I mean, I heard some people say that it wasn't as sharp or as good as they, you know, might have been told that it was. Like the display was still a little bit blurry, and the gestures are really hard to do. And so, you know, it'll take some time, but I'm excited to see what Apple can do in that aspect.
I am too. And I think that Apple has all of the ingredients for success in this area. I mean, we've talked about this before, how the audio on Vision Pro is incredible. And if I could get that in a glasses form factor, I would be incredibly happy with that. Then you add in easy pairing, and you add in Apple's sort of understanding of intuitive gestures. And even just like if you just take a photo with this future smart glasses product and it's right there on your iPhone. Then there are even other technologies that Apple has brought out with Apple Intelligence, like visual intelligence, that would clearly be more useful on this kind of product. It's just what bemuses me is not, and what I'm pessimistic about, I suppose, and I'm not actually pessimistic, but what I suppose I'm just a little bit taken aback by is why do this with Vision Pro? Why lead us down this path if this path is now going to be abandoned? So maybe they won't abandon it. I actually don't know if they will fully retreat from it. That is not clear. But from the reports as they currently stand, there is no true second generation Vision Pro being worked on, and the work on a Vision Air has been paused. That isn't to say that it won't be resumed,
right?
But that means that there is going to be a longer gap, which means that for a longer period, this M5 Vision Pro, exactly the same as it is today, with all but the chip and maybe the headband, is what will be sold in Apple stores through until at least 2028. Because the timeline we were expecting before was the M5 version this year in 25, the Vision Air in late 26 or early 27, and then it would have been the true second generation coming through in 27 or 28. So if it's been paused now, we're looking at a far longer time frame than that. Maybe add 2 years to that. So is it really going to be 2030 by the time we actually get a second generation Vision Pro? How can you do that? It's not like a HomePod where you can take the first gen off sale and no one really cares, and then you reintroduce it and it's fine. I mean, there's been so much fanfare around this device that they can't really just remove it from sale without saying what's happened there. This is a whole new platform. So it's very weird. It's very interesting to me. And I guess, I'm just surprised. I'm excited for this glasses product, but I do feel like all of the worries that you and I had about Vision Pro, and I think sometimes maybe we went too far with them. Sometimes maybe we were too generous with the product as well. I feel like things are now leveling out, and it does not look like Vision Pro is a success. And I know we've debated that heavily, but I think that now things are coming down on the side of this is not a successful product.
It's not a successful product in the traditional sense. Sales, usage, I guess. You know, it's just not in those regards. But I think it's a successful product from an engineering and a technology standpoint. I do think
absolutely
right. So it's hard. It's hard for me to say. I don't want to tear it down without bringing it up, because it definitely deserves being propped up a little bit, because it is really good. I still haven't tried a headset that can do all of the things that it can do at the same level of quality and standards that it does. Meta Quest is probably the closest thing, and it's still not anywhere near, in my opinion. I mean, yes, you can do a lot of the same features, but I feel like it's just much more poorly implemented. So, I agree with what you're saying. It's a shame. I don't know if you saw Casey Neistat's recent video about the Meta glasses and stuff, but when those came out, not the Meta glasses, but the Vision Pro, when the Vision Pro came out, he was a huge proponent, did a full video, used it all the time. And then in this recent video with the Meta glasses and talking about where this was all going, he mentioned that he doesn't use his Vision Pro anymore. It just kind of sits in where all the other products that he doesn't use goes. And that's kind of telling, man. He was very big up when it came out on using it and saying it was the future and one of the best new products that's ever come out. And then he admitted that he doesn't use it. So I feel like there's a lot of us out there. I have been using it more lately because of the new operating system, but that was me for a little while. I go through some stretches where it just sits in the case, and I'm ashamed to admit that, but I know I'm not the only one.
I feel like this is heading toward a conversation with Apple that is along the lines of the sorts of things that have been uncomfortable situations for Apple. A little bit like when there were a lot of worries about Apple abandoning the Mac or certainly rejecting Pro users. And Apple sat down with the press and essentially talked about where the product line was going, which of course the company basically never otherwise does. And it sat down and said, there is a Pro version of the iMac coming. We are committed to Pro users. We are committed to this product line. And it allayed a lot of concerns, and that did a lot of good in the community. I feel like that is almost inevitably where we are going to end up with Vision Pro, where they're going to get to 2026, 2027, early 28, and that M5 version is still going to be on tables gathering dust. And developers are going to just, why develop for that device? And the number of people using it is going to go down and down. And I feel like at some point, Apple is going to need to say, we are committed to this product. There is a new version coming. Give us a little bit more time. We weren't quite where we needed to be with the first version, but a new version is coming. But if it waits until 2029 to bring out that new version, I mean, by then, who's going to be using it? Who's going to use that first and effectively slightly amended first generation product by then? Yes, I'm sure it'll be still good at watching movies, but will people really even still be doing that? Will a significant number of people be doing that?
I'm really quite doubtful. That are going to yell at you right now. The emails that we'll get about the hardcore users, those people will still be using it. And that's great, but I feel like that experience isn't going to be as good.
And I feel like it's great that those people have managed to make it work. I just think it's undeniable at this point, given what we have heard, that if Apple itself is not actually releasing successors to this product, what does that say about the product itself? And it's not to say that it isn't a great experiential product and very technologically impressive. Both of those things are true. I think it's one of the best new experiences I've had with a device for years, in fact. I can't knock that. But a product is only as good as its ability to sell. Ultimately, Apple is a consumer electronics company. And if it's selling a device that's $3,500, and even those of us who probably would stretch to buy it don't, what does that say about that product? What I think it says is that it's just not compelling enough.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's not compelling, but if that device was lighter, it was faster to interact with as well. It does feel quite sluggish, not in terms of the chip, but the gestures and multitasking is just slower than using a Mac or even an iPad. And the iPad is pretty notoriously slow compared to the Mac. That is not a usable device. If it hurts my face when I watch a movie because it's just too heavy to last that long, what does it say about that device? If there isn't enough immersive content, that the best thing about it is that immersive content, but I can't watch an entire TV series, or if I can, I don't know, maybe there's one or two. What is it for?
Yeah, I agree. It's such a good product that's just kind of, it's wasting potential, you know? You ever had those kids in school growing up when you're like, man, you've got so much potential and they're just wasting it away. That's what I feel like Apple's doing with this. It's just wasting its potential on what it could be. And it already is great, like we mentioned many times, for people that are already using it, making it a part of their life. But like for those who wanted to and still haven't quite figured out a way to make it, and then for those people that haven't even tried it at all or have no interest because of the price. Yeah, now you guys can get a full look at I accidentally knocked the wire over. And so now my camera is out for some reason, but hey, look, there's the rest of my office in wide view. I forgot to shut this door. Anyways, I would love to hear from everybody. You know, please don't yell at us if you're using the Vision Pro a lot. I know that there are people out there that do use it, and I'm happy that you do, but it's more so those who what do you want to see from Apple in this area, like with the glasses and everything? Me personally, I would like a Ray-Ban Meta, like the original version with no display. I would like a competitor for that, and I would like that pretty soon. I feel like we can't wait until 2028 for that. That needs to be coming out in the next year, in my opinion. And then I think 27 they should be coming out with the display, because by then Meta's already had a couple of chances here, you know, couple of shots. I don't know how long the life cycle is going to be for this first version, but let's say they come out with another version in 27. They've already got a heads up or a leg up on kind of being more innovative with it. So Apple's behind. We'll see.
I kind of wish that I've always maintained that the Vision Pro was released too soon. Some people have disagreed with me about that, especially some prominent voices in the community. But I maintain that that product was simply put on sale before it was ready. There was not enough content for it. The interface was not sufficiently finished. And ultimately, even think that things like the headband were not quite there yet. And even with another year, the product would have been in a better place. 2 years, even more so. But what I wish Apple would have done instead was actually just release sunglasses with that audio technology.
And take some pictures. That's all we need.
And I feel like that would have been a great starting place. You could actually basically market that as an AirPods product, like AirPods Vision
Pods.
And it would be fine. And I imagine those would be really popular, especially, AirPods are really affordable. Imagine if you could buy a pair of sunglasses for $350 and you get audio in that with an AirPods-like experience. You get some little swipeable gestures to adjust the volume, and maybe a camera. Even if it didn't have a camera, I would still buy that just to complement my other AirPods. And I think that would be a bestseller. But instead, Apple decided, no, let's sell a $3,500 product that is uncomfortable, heavy, and not particularly usable for getting real work done compared to other productive platforms and ones that they actually sell.
No, I mean, I agree. We can kind of already get that experience. I don't know about the AirPods experience. I'm curious. I want to try the new version of the Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses to see if that has improved and what's improved over the last version, because I do like my last model. But yeah, I mean, I think those would be a hit personally, just like the ones that are already available now from competitors. So, all right. Well, would love to hear from everybody in the comments, emails, tweets, if people still use that godforsaken website. Anything, just hit us up and we'll catch you all in the next episode.